All right. All right. Hey, everybody. Hello, YouTubers. Hello, everyone who stumbled upon this great video. Great conversation between myself. For those of you who are new to the channel or new to this, my name is Alex Rodov, as it says here, Microsoft partner, and a proud member of the project management community here. And we build solutions for project managers and for PMOs on Microsoft. And here with us today, Hartman. Hartman, please introduce yourself.
So I'm from the South. I'm a Southerner, and we have a phrase here that goes something like, "I have a guy for that." So you need your refrigerator is not cooling. What do? You call up your buddy and say, "Hey, if you had this problem, who would you trust to come into your house and work on your refrigerator?" You need an investment advisor. You call your buddy, "Who would you trust to take a look at your investment and give you advice?" And the response is, "I got a guy for that." Having been in project management for as long as I have, I don't remember ever not using a project management tool. And for what is it now, 12 or so years, Alex has been my guy for anything PPM. Alex, thank you for your partnership over all of these years. You've been a great partner to me. As Alex said, I'm Hartman Holliman. I am a project management consultant in the Workday ERP practice at Impact Advisors. We focus exclusively on healthcare clients, helping them navigate complex IT initiatives like EHR implementations, ERP migrations, and digital transformation projects. Alex, can I share something on the screen here?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Before, while you're doing this, just want to make sure everybody's understand the topic for today is healthcare IT, implementation of healthcare IT projects, and Hartman has a great deal of experience in that space. And we are fortunate to be back in the day working together as a vendor and a customer. So we were happy to share the experience. We have a lot of experience with other healthcare customers, so I'm interested to balance some of those use cases that we had for you. What would you have done back in the day? Go ahead and share your screen if you like.
No. Okay, have a share. Okay, some research that just came out a few days ago. Actually, this is November 2025. In healthcare, we have a company called KLAS, that measures satisfaction, effectiveness, that sort of thing in healthcare IT. So they did research, asked CIOs, who do you think of when you think of firms best positioned to meet the top needs, your top IT priorities, and also which firms do you consider the most influential? Now, we often think of the big four. KPMG, actually, KPMG isn't doing too great on this in this survey. PricewaterhouseCooper, you see there right there on the line, very average. Accenture, Deloitte is doing a little bit better. I'm looking for Impact Advisors. Oh gosh, way over there to the right in the very top. Impact Advisors is quite far ahead of our competitors in CIO mindshare when it comes to healthcare IT professional services. I'm very excited to be working at Impact Advisors. We have a great firm. My background is at an academic medical center. I spent 25 years at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, where did 25 years of projects from hospitals to system upgrades to process improvement to patient safety to patient satisfaction, clinical device integration, marketing communications. We do a little bit of it all at an academic medical center. My passion is aligning people, technology, patient outcomes, and organizational strategy.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks, Hartman. We'll talk. We'll dive into the specifics and what are the tips and tricks for those PMO leaders out there in healthcare that may pick up some brain from this conversation. Hopefully, I just wanted to kind of lay out the land of the magnitude of the healthcare market. I mean, this is I didn't. I mean, I've heard, I've known, some of it, but I did some of the dig in some of the numbers. Well, it's my turn to share my screen. Um, let me share my screen real quick here. So I'll share this real quick. So just take a look. I mean, obviously, as you can using Chat GPT and quick research on the healthcare. 10, the global healthcare spending is projected to exceed 10 trillion annually. And 10 to 20% of the GDP for many of the countries there. Um, AI, and we're going to talk about AI today as well. And AI is transforming healthcare faster than any other industry. Basically, here they're saying that by 2030, AI could save the industry over 150 billion per year. So there's a lot of opportunities there to be part of that market, obviously, and a lot of healthcare issues that needs to be addressed. AI is climbing that tree, is faster than we think, and we are here to help to implement those projects, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit. Hartman, um, tell me a little bit about what's unique in your opinion. All of us are project managers and portfolio managers and PMO leaders, and well, in our company we do a lot of different projects, not just healthcare. But you're the healthcare guy, right? You're if we need a project manager, PMO leader for healthcare, we call you, right? So what is it unique in healthcare project management, portfolio management?
So, healthcare projects are unique primarily because of regulatory complexity, right? HIPAA, high tech interoperability rules. Going to dig into that a bit. These are not optional, they're mission critical. They're requirements of any projects in healthcare. I have come to think of healthcare projects risks in the following buckets. Okay, we're going to dive into these, but I'm going to start out with just listing these: data privacy and security, keeping up with evolving regulations, billing and coding compliance, third party and vendor risk, workforce training and human error, and finally, emerging technologies. I'm going to focus on AI and interoperability there. So let's dive into those a little bit. So data privacy and security. So that's a lot. Those are actually two distinct things, and they're big, each in their own right. So privacy. I worked for 25 years in a large health system, and I don't have anything particularly, sensitive about my healthcare, but it is my healthcare and it's between me and my doctor, and I want that to remain private. I don't want, nosy Rosie over in the lab looking into my my medical records. So privacy is about just keeping the right eyes on it. Um, the other part of it is security. Externally, there are bad actors out there trying to break into your electronic medical record all day long, all night long. Because guess what? While a stolen credit card number maybe is worth $5 or $10 on the black market, guess what? A medical record is worth up to $1,000 on the black market, 10 to 40 times.
Hold on a
Yep.
second. You are saying that my medical
Okay.
record on the black market may be sold, and someone will pay for my for my records $1,000.
pay
bucks,
big bucks. Yep.
basically.
Because then
Yeah,
then they, like, a credit card number, you can cancel that credit card number. Credit card has a potentially a very short
yeah.
lifespan. Your medical record includes what? Your social security number, lots of details about you, likely some payment information. Yes, $1,000 if I can get Alex's medical record.
So so it's not my test results that worth the money.
Yep, they don't care if
The
you're
okay, okay.
um,
And why? So why? Why is that? Why does the medical records just have everything? Is that more than? Well, how does it different from stolen identity versus medical records? Is it different?
Yeah, well, it's just more. Like, it's if you think about the first time you go to a doctor, how many forms do you have to fill out? How many questions do you have to
Yeah.
answer? That medical record, the more comprehensive it is, the more effective it is as a treatment tool. And so a good medical record is robust. It's hundreds or thousands of pages of information.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
My
Yeah.
first brush with real serious security breach was we had laptop stolen from one of the units in our hospital. This was back when we were still in the process of rolling out encryption. Like, this computer, the hard disk was not encrypted, and the computer was stolen, and that
Mhm.
that is a reportable breach under HIPAA. It was not encrypted and it was stolen. Therefore, we were required by law to follow procedures, and we had to report that. And that stolen laptop landed us under a 3-year corrective action plan with the Office of Civil Rights. Had hundreds of remediation items in that corrective action plan. And guess what? We had a monitor, an external monitor from another company who was looking over our shoulders there for that entire corrective action period. Um, Crazy, crazy, crazy. Next,
So you're saying that by implementing IT projects, if you were to have the encryption, if you would have, the right, setup uh, to begin with, you would have avoided all of that, headache.
yeah, if that hard disk had been encrypted, then it would have just been a loss of $800. Oh, we lost a piece of equipment. Not a big deal. But that hard disk was not encrypted. We never had any evidence whatsoever that information was misused. Most likely, that became a kid's gaming computer. But
Yeah,
it happened, and so it triggered all of these things. Can't take any chances with it.
gotcha.
Next bucket there is keeping up with evolving regulations. HIPAA updates, 21st Century Cures Act, Information Blocking Rule, Interoperability and Patient Access Final Rule. All of these are revised frequently. CMS rules, FDA.
Did we lose Hartman? Hartman, we lost you. We lost your visual. Come back.
Are you there? Okay. 2013, the Omnibus Final Rule, and then 2024 and 25, they're reviewing other proposed security rules. The bottom line is hospitals face monthly to quarterly compliance changes across coding, billing, and quality reporting. The regulations change all the time. Just keeping up with them is a handful. Next thing, billing and coding compliance. Luckily, I haven't worked in this area in a little while. I don't deal with this a lot, but you can't you can't send your overcodes out the door, or your undercodes. An undercode is just as bad as an overcode. If you're It's still fraud. Okay. Third party and vendor risk. So along with HIPAA came this idea of a business associate and a business associate agreement. So not only do I have to be sure that my system is solid and secure, all of the companies that I do business with, I have to be sure that they are also secure, robust, highly available. Okay, business associates agreement. Anybody in healthcare now, you have to have a business associate agreement with your third party vendors, because guess what? That's where more risk comes in. Next is workforce
Absolutely.
training and human error. Insufficient training on privacy, security, compliance protocols, not only training, but we need role specific training. Guess what? My access as an IT person is different from somebody who is a nurse. Different exposures, and I don't want to sit through nurse training as an IT guy. The same as a nurse doesn't want to sit through IT training. So role specific training. Simulation is a biggie. Phishing simulation has become quite common. Organizations send out these fake messages to try to get you to click on it. And guess what? Way too many of us are so eager to click click those links. Human error remains the weakest link. A 2024 report found 43% of healthcare breaches stemmed from human error. Guess what those breaches cost? Do you think they cost 1,000, 10,000, hundreds of thousands? No, not even millions. We're talking north of $10 million for a security breach in 2025. It's crazy. Next,
Yeah.
emerging technologies, AI and interoperability. I think we're going to talk some about AI here today. Back in the day, Alex, we used to talk about technological change as it was explained by Moore's Law. Moore's Law said the number of transistors on a microchip doubles approximately every 2 years, while the cost of computers is halved. Well, guess what? In the age of AI, that pace of technological change has been accelerated greatly, 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 like we've never seen before. Interoperability. First of all, what is it? If you don't work in healthcare, maybe you're not so familiar with interoperability, but at a broad level, it's ensuring that patient health information flows seamlessly between providers, payers, and patients. But let's break that down a little bit. Say you're in a hospital room and the machines around you are collecting your vital signs. How many of us have had a nurse come into our room and take our vitals and write them down on the palm of their hand? Oh gosh, that's scary. For one, you're bringing in an opportunity for human error. We want that medical device to be interoperable across this entire platform, so that that device that captures your vitals puts those right into your chart. That's not a nurse scrawling it down on their hand. It goes right into your record. And guess what? That information then flows from your record to the third parties that are involved. It's all interoperable. Within interoperability, we have a foundational level. That's just basic data exchange. I'm going to send this information from a blood pressure device into the electronic medical record. Okay. Then the next step up from that, we have structural. Okay. That's the standardized data formats so that you have consistent interpretation. Then layer in semantics. Okay. So common diagnosis codes. Okay. And then finally, your organizational policies, governance, and workflows that enable that secure and trusted exchange. Alex, how do Microsoft PPM solutions help with these complexities?
Well, Microsoft has, a lot of different tools, and this waffle with all the apps, and everybody's clicking on it, and you may not have access to some of them, but you see a lot of these different bells and whistles and tools. um there has been a shift and into obviously having AI to have help with a lot of things that we couldn't do as far as Microsoft technology stack. But uh, from the uh, from the project management perspective, portfolio and management perspective, we all know it's all about the communication. And Microsoft, provided a lot of, invested a lot of time and money into the communication aspect, which is, everybody knows probably what I'm going to be talking about is Teams, right? Everything is in Teams, and all the Microsoft, document management, SharePoint, and project management, including, is all revolving around this platform, called this tool called Teams, and that's that's kind of the short answer. I mean, obviously, we have our professional tools like Power Platform and others, and there's a whole lot of development done within Power Tools, Power Platform tools, and we will be doing a lot of demo and show tips and tricks of how to run, plan, portfolio of projects within the healthcare organization. That's something on the pipeline for to show the world out there. Um, but as you say that there's a guy for everything. I have a guy for this. I have a guy for this. So Microsoft has a tool for everything, right? Has a tool for this and a tool for that. So most, by the way, speaking of compliance and HIPAA, all of the you know cloud services of Microsoft, I would just say most of the cloud services are by default are HIPAA compliant. You can configure it differently, you can build things differently that will not make it HIPAA compliant, but um from the encryption perspective, from the security perspective, there's a great deal of protection. We had this recent outage yesterday, everybody's talking about, while we were on Teams call discussing that. So meaning that everything that is not facing public network, and we had a talk with our engineers today about this, about what happened really. Basically, if we're not facing publicly our services, then we're usually okay. We usually have our private endpoint, and they're not exposed as much as public ones. But anyway, I'm not that technical to break it down fully. Point I'm making is that at Microsoft, we as Microsoft partner, we have a lot of tools for different circumstances, and within Power Apps, we have a few solutions that are out there that we can bring to the table and configure based on the security, based on compliance, HIPAA compliance, fully compliant with healthcare IT policies, and avoid those mistakes, avoid those horrible headaches of dealing with those issues. If identities are stolen, we have a way to A, prevent that, and B, to remotely secure our data, or our customers data, or patients data, uh, and uh, and move on. Okay. um should we talk about this digitalization
Let's do it.
concepts, and digital transformation and all these records? I mean, I haven't been in any. Well, gladly, I'm not going to the medical offices too often. But if you do get one, um, if you do get to one, I don't see anybody's filling the papers anymore. Everybody's filling digitally. I was just actually coming here from the medical office to this webinar. I was hoping that I'm still gonna make it. So they handed to me this pad, electric pad, and I would just had to type my information in and sign all the agreements right there electronically. How is that? Tell our viewers what are the challenges with digital transformation in healthcare.
So, first of all, let me apologize to our viewers. Alex, these days I live 4 months in Portland, Oregon, 4 months in Jackson, Mississippi, and 4 months in the RV in between. And I just landed back in my office here in Jackson, Mississippi, and my background blur is not working. So you're all getting treated to a very messy view of my office. So apologies for the chaos that is happening behind me.
Well, for all the purposes of the AI and our viewers, looks very natural, and that's what we want. We want authenticity.
Nice. Yes.
So I am not AI. That confirms that you're not AI. So it's still a good conversation between two human beings.
Nice. Yep. Lessons learned. Stakeholder engagement is non-negotiable. Okay, this one is a little bit controversial, but it's my lesson learned. I say that phased rollouts beat big bang approaches. Training has to go beyond buttonology. You can't just train how to click buttons. You have to train. The training has to integrate workflow. Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. First of all, when we talk about large scale EHR, ERP, cloud implementations, we're talking about big projects. Usually 10,000 plus workforce members. These things have duration of 3+ years, and we're talking about capital investments of 30 million or more. These are not just upgrades. These are transformations. Nobody wants to spend $30 million and get a new version of anything. They want to transform their business.
At this point.
Okay, lots of lessons learned here over 25 years, but I have come here today with a list of a few that I want to talk about. So again, number one is stakeholder engagement is non-negotiable. When do you engage stakeholders, Alex? You engage them early and often. Early and often. I'm going to say that a lot. Engage stakeholders early and often. Again, these things are not in IT we call it lift and shift. When you just pick it up and you move it over to the new platform, well, that's not acceptable in these large scale organizational transformation projects. We have to transform the way that we're doing business, not just upgrade the technology.
Wait for Hartman.
Next, I'm also going to say this a lot: governance and leadership. Strong leadership is the most cited determinant of success in these large-scale projects.
In the meantime,
strong governance structures and adaptive leadership. I like that word, adaptive leadership. They help balance centralized mandates with local customization. We hear about top down or bottom up. Well, guess what? There's even this hybrid middle out. The middle is where most of the action is. So
Hartman's
start in the middle and work toward the top and work toward the bottom. But strong leadership sets the vision, and then governance gives the boundaries, gives the guidelines.
Impact
next, I'm going to say it again. Phase rollouts beat big bang. When I did my first EHR implementation, when we implemented Epic at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, we did a big bang, and it was a very successful project. It met all the marks, but it was hard. Big bang, like everybody, you have to get the entire organization, 10,000 folks marching toward one go live. What I've come to learn over years since then is a phase rollout is just a couple more minutes. Do a phase 1 and then a phase 2. So I'm doing ERP implementations these days, and a phase implementation might look like, okay, phase 1, we're going to do HR and payroll. Phase 2, we're going to do fin and supply chain. And what that does is it breaks up those big moments across those 3 years into more digestible chunks. So you get some little wins along the way. You have less chaos. And you're able to get in some pilot programs that help identify workflow gaps and training needs before your full deployment? Checking my connection
I
here.
don't
Can you
know.
hear me?
It's fairly simple process to join as a guest here, but apparently there's some outage going on in Mississippi. All right, guys, we will wait a little bit, see if we can continue this. In the meantime, I can just give you a little bit of a research that we did here for the healthcare industry. That was interesting. A couple interesting facts that oh, there it is. There we
Oh gosh.
there we have.
I was talking and I was getting no feedback.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's continue where we left off.
Okay, I'm not sure where my connection dropped, so I'm gonna start back on phase rollouts, big bang. Okay, so my first big, really big ERP implementation was Epic at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. It was smashing success. Like it was very successful project, but it was a big bang and it was hard. What do we mean by big bang? Okay, so we did inpatient, outpatient, cardiology, imaging, lab, all of these modules, all of them started at the same time and went live at the same time. And it's hard bringing 10,000
Recipe
people
for
along.
disaster. No?
Yes, yes, yep. So fast forward a few years, I've done a few more large implementations, and I profess the value of a phased approach. So I'm doing ERP Workday ERP these days. My current project, we went live with phase one HCM and payroll, and then we're marching toward go live of fin and supply chain. So what that does is break down those big moments, those big go live moments, those resource intensive moments into more digestible chunks. You can have some pilot programs, you can demonstrate some ROI, and you can, perhaps not burn out resources who are just going full steam ahead toward a common go live. Next lesson learned is training has to go beyond what some call, I don't really love this word, but buttonology. You can't just take screenshots and say, click here, click here, click here. Because for one, guess what? Those screens are going to change. And so your training is going to be old and outdated, but also it's just not, but it's not fun, but it's also not effective. Like you have to integrate the workflow into the training. How is the nurse interacting with this system as she interacts with her workflow with the patient in the room? Personalized, role specific training. Don't give a nurse IT training and don't give the IT folks nurse training. Role specific training. And let's go beyond training and let's develop these robust internal support networks like super user groups, our business advisory teams, our peer mentors.
What do you
Next is,
Harman,
yep,
can I ask you this?
yep.
What do you do when people don't wanna learn?
Well, I mean, if they really don't want to learn, you need to help them find the way to the door because, I mean, you can't work in technology
Well,
and not want to learn. You can't work in healthcare and
let me
not
rephrase
want to
let me
learn.
rephrase this. Sorry, it's not gonna be that easy. What do you do, if someone doesn't wanna learn and you can't fire them?
Yeah. Well, that's tricky. You have to bring them along. Like one phrase is with them. What's in it for me? So let's find out. Like, what is that barrier? Why do they not want to learn? Is there's likely some barrier there that we can remove for them. But identifying, hey, what is in it for me? What is Alex going to get out of this learning opportunity? It isn't just coming to go through and click complete. It's what is Alex going to get out of this? What's in it for me?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Next, I like to talk about workflow assessment before and after go live. What does your workflow
Mm.
look like before your project? Then you do your project, and you need to know what does it look like again after. If you have disrupted a clinical workflow with your project, well, guess what? You got a problem there that you need to address. And guess what? This is not just a system that you flip it on and you walk away. You have to have continuous optimization of that system post go live to sustain the improvements in productivity, improvements in patient safety, perhaps improvement in expenses or cost incurrence.
Mhm.
Next is cultural alignment and change management. What do they say? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the most perfect strategy that one could imagine, but if it doesn't align with the culture, it isn't gonna get you there. Resistance often stems from fear of workflow disruption or loss of autonomy. You're trying to take something away from me. Transparent communications, quick wins, visible leadership. These things build trust and reduce change fatigue. Cloud migration lessons. I bet you have some things to add here. Migrating folks from on premise to the cloud. That's for one, if you're not in data center management these days, it's likely just cost prohibitive to maintain your own data center. People outsource this hosting to other providers these days. Um, you're talking about a Teams outage yesterday. There was a AMS outage just a few weeks ago that had
Yeah.
big impact. Just because you're going to an outsourced cloud provider, that doesn't mean that there aren't risks that come along with that. Also, when we first ever migration to an offsite data center. It was a new data center. This was a state. I'm not going to say which state, but it was a state facility. And guess what? They had an electrical contractor in there. And if you haven't been in a data center, you've seen these buttons before. They're typically hidden behind layers of glass, and it says emergency cutoff. Like you press it and everything goes dead. It doesn't say emergency shutdown. Like it is not an orderly shutdown. It is a off. Turn it off. Well, an electrical contractor didn't push the button, but in his work did the equivalent of pressing that emergency shutdown button. And that doesn't mean that it sent commands to all of the servers and said, "Hey servers, shut down. Go to your battery backup." And it went dark, went from light zone to in the dark. We had physical physical hardware damage caused by that outage. So lots of efficiencies, lots to be gained by migrating to the cloud. But hey, there are still people too. There are people running those data centers, and they occasionally have outages also. Standardization
It's
versus
it's just,
customization. Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on the moving to the cloud, and especially in healthcare, there was a lot of hype. Still, there's a hype about the cloud and moving to the cloud, and getting rid of the servers per se, right? But people got carried away with the
Yeah.
cloud, and if you got carried away with something, like it's like fishing equipment. You buy one thing, and next time you bought too much, right? And it's becoming very expensive. So the same thing, it became very expensive without necessarily justifying. So the hype was kind of ahead of the common sense kind of thing. So So there was the friend, he was entertaining the new term called cloud repatriation. You know,
Ooh.
so meaning like there's certain circumstances where it's more cost efficient to run certain compute on a very specific set of hardware as opposed to renting that in the cloud, because you kind of renting the expensive infrastructure versus if you need something simple to be done, you can still do this. But again, this is still didn't stop the cloud to be growing. So it's still growing, and it still makes sense because there's a called affordable cloud, or the cloud that is reasonably priced. But I think it makes more sense to engage the right guy for the job. Like you mentioned, there's a guy for everything. So there's a guy for the cloud, right? Especially cloud native, where it's there are modern cloud tools that are designed to be efficient. And by calling the right guy, you can tune this up so it's not breaking the bank, efficient and reliable and compliant at the same time.
Nice. Yep. Great example there.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
My next big lessons learned is standardization versus customization. Every single healthcare provider I've ever walked in the door of, I always hear this. Oh well, we're unique. We're a little different.
Yeah.
Well, okay, sure, yes, you are, but but we've got to standardize. Stop with your customization. A term that I've come to use is adaptive standardization. Okay, we're going to focus on standardization, but realizing that sometimes we have to adapt. Here in Mississippi, we still have a lot of rural here. We have a lot of underserved communities, places. We have folks who don't have smartphones yet. Not only do they not have smartphones, they don't have cell coverage. Yeah, they don't have cell coverage where
Don't
they
tell
are.
them.
So yeah, so an SMS appointment reminder is great for 98% of the population, but there's still
Mm.
that 2% that's going to get left out. So let's push towards standardization, but let's do it in an adaptive manner, realizing that we do have to adapt, but focus on standardization. When that next system update comes around, you don't want to have to go cleaning up your customizations. You want that update to go in seamlessly.
Would you think that the standardization and the flavor of the method that you brought up is also applicable for PMO, processes standardization? Because it's not about what you're building. It's not only about what you're building at the end of the day, right? You're running a hospital, or you're building a healthcare system. Is how do you approach to, okay, well, for the next 5 years, let's build a plan. And how do we build the plan? How do we do the estimates? How do we assign project managers to run and execute the plan? Is there the same standardization that applies for project management, for PMO, as well as for the just running the healthcare organization?
So my last PMO was a center of excellence model. So what that looked like was within my core PMO, I had kind of the best and the brightest, the most highly specialized, the it was the brain trust. And then that's a fairly small group, but then we do like a train the trainer. We take that knowledge and we push it out into the organization. So we have our methodologies, our expertise, our hands, our governance on that, but yet we're pushing it out into the organization. So we say, okay, lab, you're a lab, you operate a little differently. We recognize that you want to manage your projects, how you manage your projects in a lab environment. However, we're going to give you this framework that is common across the entire organization, so that when you report on the progress of your projects on your portfolio, you're reporting in the same metrics that the rest of the organization is.
Yeah. Yeah, and how do you structure the center of excellence, and then you would create satellite PMOs, around that?
Um, yes, yep. A larger group, we would say, hey, this is a satellite PMO. Like this is an extension of us. But more commonly, it is just like it is, say, having promoting project management as a discipline that folks should know something about. Like just invite them to the table and like make more project managers. Like as a director of a PMO, my biggest job was to make more project managers. And so part of that is just like it's about I've never had a PM social, but have a PM social, invite folks over for ice cream or coffee and talk about project management. Talk about it with the what's in it for me. What does Alex get out beside a cup of
Right.
coffee or a scoop of ice cream? What is Alex going to get by coming over to learn a little bit about project management?
There's typical scenario when you have IT PMO, right? And then you have business PMO, and then you would have a construction PMO. And to make these people talk to each other, it's a uphill battle, to say the least, right?
Uphill to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So question: what would you what would you what advice would you give to someone who's bright and sitting in one of these satellite PMOs, right? And maybe there's no center of excellence yet, right? But that there is another group of project managers, and they're organizing their own PMO, and we're organizing our own PMO. What advice would you give to have that bright mind, to challenge the leadership, right? Or how to challenge the leadership, how to bring that idea of maybe we should all standardize, maybe we should all kind of get PM social, and figure out how do we coexist together, because those construction projects would have IT projects within those buildings, and so on and so forth. So what advice would you give to that bright PMO leader?
So I lived this actually, Alex, at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. We had an IT PMO. It was actually our largest and most mature PMO, but we also had a construction PMO. Like they construction, and they have their way about it. And we had, when you're dealing with external engineers and all of these professionals, like they have their way already, and you're not necessarily gonna change how they do that. However, they're putting up a building. Well, they need a clinical practice to be in that building. They need IT closets to be in that building. Like they can't just build a building and say, hey, doctors, here it is. Like we have to collaborate from the very beginning. If we don't get enough IT closet space in that building, well, we're not going to be able to have the connectivity that we need. So I began years ago, like just embedding, like we embedded people from the IT PMO in the construction PMO and vice versa. Like we got a seat at their table and we invited them to our table. And what we realized was, hey, we approach things very differently. We have different points of view, different outcomes, but hey, we're doing projects, and these are investments that the organization is making. They tend to be big dollar investments. And so when we report out how we're doing, or maybe we're asking, hey, we need some help, we need some more money, or we need more resources. If if we're talking about those metrics in one vocabulary and the construction group is using a different vocabulary, well, guess what? Nobody's going to get those resources. But when we partner together and develop a common methodology or common performance indicators or metrics, and we begin to speak a common language, then when we go to leadership, then we're singing from the same hymn book, and we have a common message, and we're more likely to move the needle on collaboration there.
Were you able to put those differences aside with just an ice cream, or you had to use something stronger?
Yeah, it was ice cream during the day and something stronger after hours. Yeah.
Good. Which one is more important to you know? Which one yield more results, the ice cream or the after hours stronger?
The ice cream is, people are already in the office, so I'm not asking you to give your after hours time. So I'm probably going to have a better turnout at my ice cream social. But the after work, when you go out after the office, you maybe unbutton that top button, you relax a little bit, and you're
Yeah.
much more likely to
All
to
right.
collaborate in that, little bit less structured environment.
Yeah.
So hard to say which one wins there.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think that PMO bright person should not be afraid of?
They should not be afraid of pushback, of hearing no. Like they shouldn't be afraid of getting crazy looks. Like, what are you talking about?
Is that
They
is that what you are getting? Is it what you are getting? You get a
Oh
no,
yeah.
a crazy
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep. I don't I've been around long enough. I don't mind being the crazy person in the room. Like, people can look at me funny, and I'm going to keep going, but that's hard. It's rolling the ball up the hill. Like, it is not an easy journey.
Yeah, I remember in my career we came into one of the largest healthcare companies, pharma companies actually, for a big project, and it was already failing, and they called the guy, they called the
Yeah.
guy, right, to finally called the right guy, I guess. But we had so much of a pushback and no's and crazy looks, and one of the phrases was basically, why do you think you're gonna succeed? That was straight in my face. Why do you think you're so we had these people, we had these people, we had these people, and he naming like big names, right? I don't want to call the names, but he naming big names of consulting firms. And why do you think you can succeed here? Imagine that.
That's a yeah,
Yeah, and
that's a
at this
tough
point,
question.
gloves
Yeah.
off, kind of thing. Gloves off. There's nothing. You have nothing to lose. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess. Can you? uh, How? I mean, it's good when you're a consultant, right? And you're a third party, so you have a project. You come in, and then you're the guy, and you tell the truth without any repercussion, right? Because you were. This is exactly what you're being paid for. But what if you're internal? I mean, people will be afraid of losing their job if they
Yep.
come across, a little bit, wrong. I mean, if people will start shouting at them and saying no and making crazy looks, you may think, oh, well, if I keep doing this, I will lose my job,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what's
It's
what's what's the tips and tricks, for these guys? How do they how do they keep everybody humble, and in place, and not be not to lose the job? How do you not lose a job over this?
Yep. So if you do what's right, like, you don't do what's comfortable, but you do what's right. Like, at the end of the day, right. Like, if you have the organization's best interests or the patient's best interest, if you're trying to do what's right, like, that's going to get you part of the way. Okay. Being bold. Like, if you just look at my glasses, I always, as a project manager, I want to just fade into the background. I'm supporting cast. I always wore plain Jane everything because I didn't want to be noticed. Well, I pivoted on that a bit. I began being more bold. This is my second pair of glasses that are just not traditional. And I realized that sometimes getting that attention is what it takes. Like fading into the background isn't enough. You have to be bold, don't be intimidated, and if your if your heart and your skilled mind is leading in the right direction, like that's my
Yeah.
biggest tip.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think you're right. Like if you need to I mean, I think I like someone told me back in the day this phrase to not to be afraid of challenging the leadership, right? So if you are to bring up something that somebody may not be comfortable with, but this is the right thing to do, this is the correct thing to do, and you know if you're on the right, um, you will fail if you're not going to be bold. You will fail if you're not going to be loud, right? If you
Yep.
tell this to this one person, and this one person is going to tell you no, right, and make a crazy face, then you lost with that person. But if you had to do something, controversial, I mean, I would just say not necessarily popular, that brings the company forward, you need to be so loud, you need to be so loud so the leadership upstairs would hear it. And they
Yep.
will back you up at the end of the day, right? Because if you're loud enough, people who are overhearing this as well, they say, okay, these guys have have guts to be loud, and he's right, and they would rather agree with you because you're way too loud
Yeah.
to be wrong.
Yep. Yep. A little lesson that I learned a long, long time ago. This was back when we were in the context of supporting end users in IT. Okay, people like my IT peers would get mad when people were wanted to be out on the edge of things, and I stumbled upon this quote that said, "Innovation occurs at the edge of what's supported." Um, in order to innovate, you have to be right out there on the edge of what is acceptable or what
Yeah.
is okay. In order to innovate, you have to push the boundary, and that means stepping outside of our comfort zone, talking to those leaders who maybe are intimidating, but you're not going to innovate if you're just sitting there on your norms.
Hartman, we reached the top of the hour. I wish we have more time. But thank you so much for joining us today. We have a couple comments here, not necessarily questions, but uh, Charles, thanks for stopping by. And we assume reliability and redundancy, so no plan B. Right? Yeah. So just continue the conversation about the cloud reliability. I mean, Charles's quote back in the day when he and him working together, belt and suspender. So we probably need to have more things to back it up, right? To back up our operations and make sure we have continuous operations going on. Yeah, that was great to get on the standards, but when the medical director is 2 years from retirement and refuses to change his ways, what do you do with that?
Yeah,
That's a
that's a
problem. I mean, I
that's a
don't know.
problem.
I don't know. I don't want to say that we can solve this, but that's a problem. We need to convince, we need to be loud. I guess you have to
Yep.
be loud and make it whatever last, years or, 2 years worth it to standardize as much as you can, because when he's out, So
Maybe look at
thanks.
early retirement options.
Yeah. Hartman, thanks so much. We will, record. We will, publish this and publish a little bit. Sorry for the inconvenience with the ins and outs as far as technology. We're still recovering from
Yeah.
yesterday. Let's just blame
Yeah.
that. But anyway, we did have a good conversation. Thank you very much. And thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Alex. Thanks, everybody.